at Central Florida, or you go to the Sloan Foundation, or you go to the U.S. Department of Education. There's a new report called the Evaluation of Evidence-Based Practices in Online Learning. Just came out. Stanford Research Institution wrote the article. They found that blended learning, combining face-to-face and online, was best. Second best was fully online, and in last place was face-to-face in terms of student achievement. Okay? So all of us who think that face-to-face is the best should read through that report once or twice. Now, of course, a lot of these reports have flaws and problems. I mean, we can get into all that. I don't have time, so we can critique pieces of it, and it might depend on discipline. It might be better in theory-related areas than it is in science-related areas and so forth, but it's an important report nonetheless. Now, my friend here, John Breen in Bloomington, Indiana, is the most famous e-learning person in my city. He saw his son struggling with the SAT prep. So he built a website called A Free Grain of Rice. And this website, A Free Grain of Rice, was to help his son with vocabulary. And then he said, well, let's put advertisements at the bottom of the screen. So he put little ads at the bottom of the different screens. And he, for every problem solved correctly, 10 grains of rice were donated through advertisements to third world countries, to Nepal and Thailand and Myanmar and so forth. And now millions of tons of metric rice have been donated through a website. One person changed the world. His website not only has vocabulary today, it has geographies and maths too. So if you have younger brothers, sisters, kids, grandkids, whatever, a free grain of rice. I mean, what a wonderful way to spend recess time. You're basically learning stuff and donating rice to third world countries. So win-win. Now, number 3 gets us into open source software, and we get into people like Chef Sakai, the Iron Chef on television, right? So some of you might have heard of Chef Sakai. At Indiana, we built what was called the Chef Tools, or the Collaborative Higher Education Framework. And, at Michigan built the Chef Tools. Indiana built OnCourse. And then MIT and Stanford and Michigan all worked together to create Sakai, the Iron Chef on television, which is a free course management system. You might be using Blackboard here or WebCT or something. Have you ever heard of Blackboard, maybe? So this is a free tool. Blackboard, we call it, because they kept buying everybody else up, right? Oh, my God. Now then we get things like Moodle. Now Moodle is built by my friend Martin here. Oh, my God. If you forget Moodle, okay? So we got Moodle for all of you in the back row. You can see the growth of Moodle over the past decade. And I had a chance to partner with Martin back in 2002, right about there. And I turned him down, and I made a big mistake. And we met in Hawaii at a conference, and I said, no. Was I stupid? Anyhow, everyone's using Moodle. You know, we got Yoda's using Moodle, Mel Gibson's using Moodle, Muppets are using smiley faces, dogs and cats, and the whole world's using Moodle, you know, and you should be too. You know, there's 32 million registered users as of 2 weeks ago, 3 million courses in Moodle. Blackboard's a little bit scared about Moodle. They're a little scared about Sakai and free stuff taking over, you see. So they create lawsuits against everybody who does stuff, you know. That's another story. Anyhow, check it out if you're interested in that.
You know, for having such a bleak outlook on forests, you're well on your way to becoming one.
Now, in the past, I used to travel to Australia and New Zealand, and they would say, Curt, we don't share in Australia, we don't share in New Zealand, but you do in the U.S., and that's great. We like the people in the U.S. to share their contents because we can use them. I go to the U.K. They say, we don't share here in Manchester, where you were last year. We don't share in Scotland. We don't share in Northern Ireland. But you do in the U.S., and that's okay. And I come back to the U.S., and the audience there would tell me, Curt, they're sharing in the U.K., we know they're sharing in New Zealand, and they're sharing in Australia, but we don't share in the U.S. This is every year I'd hear this from about 1999 to 2005. And then all of a sudden in 2005, it was like a total light bulb went off in people's heads. You know, it's like, ooh, this is a big idea. So we had this light bulb just going off, and people started sharing. And it's like accepting of sharing. It's just like what we do today. We used to call it pirating, you see. But now, everyone's sharing free stuff on the web with one another, whether it's through Facebook or Ning or wherever we are. We're creating open free books. I mean, this woman here, she's freezing to death. But look carefully, if you can really catch her close. In her ear is little buds from her iPod. She's listening to podcast lectures from MIT in physics and chemistry. She says, I can re-listen whenever I want. I don't have to do the homework. This is great. I can learn the content on my own. And I can, if I like something, I'm on the web, I can hyperlink to something else. If I'm listening to my iPod, I just listen through, I click through something else. She's studying, they're studying the ice, and they're studying water flow underneath the ice. She's a researcher from the University of Washington. Her name's Wendy Ermold. And Wendy's on breaker, these ice-breaking ships, and she's in Greenland, she's in Iceland, and she's got no universities nearby. But she's got all this stuff on the web she downloads before going on her expeditions. You see, the web enables us to learn in new ways. My friend David Wiley from BYU, my friend Thomas Reeves from Georgia, Stephen Downs in Canada, and George Siemens in Canada, they put their courses up for free and let anyone take them. You can all take their classes for free. And David will give you a certificate at the end. Tom, he'll grade your work and let you get credit at your university. These are crazy people, but they're doing it. The fact is, 10 years ago, people would say, we're not doing it, but they're doing it, you see. They had 24 people enrolled in their class on connectivism last year. 2,000 sitting in. How many of you have had a class with 2,000 other students sitting in? It's amazing times that we're in. Now this guy, he's got a website called Stephen's blog. Just type in Old Daily, his blog, and Stephen's Web, I think it's called. He reads every article on technology and education, so you don't have to. He goes to every conference, so you don't have to. I think the Canadians don't have to work, you see. It's all socialistic stuff going up there. We don't trust them. But anyhow, but he'll do it all for you, so you don't have to go. And this is a service that's available from humanitarian kinds of folks, do-gooders out there. And there are a lot of these people who just want to help the world. They're creating free software like Linux and Apache and Sakai. People say, why do people create free stuff? Well, some people just want to share their expertise. They want people to learn from them, right? I once had a teacher from Ann Arbor, a physics teacher with a PhD, teaching high school in Ann Arbor. He said, Curt, I'd like to help you out in your class down in Bloomington. And for 2 years, he gave my students feedback on every case they wrote on the web on their field experiences, along with other students from Finland and Korea and Peru. 2,000 cases were written, and he gave feedback to everybody out of kindness of heart. And there are people like that. We got Sergey Brin. Maybe he's got, 32 billion to his name, Still's out there playing frisbee golf with the guys at work. One of my programmers went to work with him last summer, didn't even know he was playing frisbee golf with the founder of Google every day. And Sergey Brin just meanders over to the Berkeley campus one afternoon and puts a talk up. They put the talk up, and 140,000 people around the world watched it the next day. You see, this woman here comes out of retirement. Marion Diamond comes out of retirement at Berkeley. She taught biology, and during 30 years at Berkeley, she taught about 5,000 students. Within 1 month, hundreds of thousands of people around the world watched her biology lectures, and she's become the most famous biology instructor in the world after she retired. So you got Adora Swiftak, age 12, ready to retire. You got this woman who's in her 70s and 80s who can't get to retire. Interesting stuff happening on the web. Well, Berkeley's in YouTube. 250 universities have stuff in YouTube. Stanford and iTunes. I'd love to go to Stanford. My test scores wouldn't get me in, right? But now I can. You see, that's the wonder of the web. We got people like Lucifer Chu. Lucifer Chu, self-named beacon of light, the light angel, not a dark angel. Lucifer translated Lord of the Rings to Chinese at age 26 and made $1 million and was single, ladies. He recently got married, unfortunately. But Lucifer's a good guy. He comes dressed in black every time I see him. He comes on stage with me on various talks. He's a gamer. Was living at home with his mother with his $1 million until he recently got married. But he built OOPS, open source, open courseware prototype system, the OOPS project, which is translating MIT content to traditional and simplified Chinese free to the world. He's in Taiwan. the similar project in mainland China called the Core Project, Chinese online resource